That's a clown question, bro.
So I'm gonna kick some dirt.
He gets on base.
Just a bit outside.
I'm not the type of player that's going to be Johnny Hustle.
If you don't want me to watch the ball, you can go get it out of the ocean.
And welcome to the show to be named later, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I am your host, Chris Gianta. On the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, it has been a powerful week of baseball. We had 2 3-home run games that were both hit at the same time. Did you catch that? Hembree and Grisham hit their third home runs of the game, each like 15 seconds apart. It was awesome.
Yeah, quite unreal. It's been the week of the home run, week of the slam for sure for one particular team. But yeah, it's been a fun week of baseball, especially on social media. Just the entire Monday through Sunday has been a pretty fun week of baseball, specifically this week.
Yeah.
So one thing, I guess we could get right into it. One thing that was not fun, probably the worst news of the past week of baseball, a couple of people on the Mets roster / staff tested positive for COVID-19. They immediately canceled the Mets-Yankees series, that Subway series for the weekend, and their series after that is also postponed. But it was good to see that they saw one positive test, and I guess they assumed that more would be coming. They were correct, and they're out for the next week.
Yeah. Shout out to Yoenis Cespedes and Marcus Stroman for being ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Maybe they knew something.
Listen, I think we all knew, just as baseball fans, we knew it was going to happen to the Mets eventually. They are the complete microcosm of this team would have a COVID outbreak, and they did. It wasn't, as of now, not a big one, but it happened. Of course it did.
Yeah, it would be too fitting if they did have the biggest outbreak, but they do have to get on the scoreboard at some point with this type of stuff. So unfortunately, those weekend games postponed, but they should be back for the next weekend series. Seems to be a lot of negatives coming back. Only 2 positives, right?
Yeah, still it was a player and a staff member that tested positive.
Yeah, a player and a staff member. There's not too much on this. We've already had 3 of these things pop up. The Reds one was definitely the least severe, and then the Marlins and Cardinals ones were on another level.
I have a couple of takeaways from this, Chris.
Yeah.
First of all, and as I mentioned earlier, Yoenis Cespedes and Marcus Stroman, they look like the 2 smartest individuals on planet Earth right now. Even if the way Cespedes went about opting out wasn't the most professional, it still looks really good of him to get out of that situation before it happened. Stroman as well. I know there was a lot of confusion as to the deeper meaning to his reasoning of him leaving. Regardless of what it is, he made the right decision, obviously. And secondly, the biggest winner in all this is Aaron Judge's MVP chances.
Well, I would say generally speaking,
or the Yankees in general, yeah.
The Yankees, the whole Yankees, they were getting off a bad series against the Tampa Bay Rays, where they got swept, and a lot of that had to do with injuries from the offensive side. LeMahieu, Judge, and Stanton are arguably their 3 biggest offensive producers, and now they have a little more time. They essentially got a bye week, where they can recover a little bit, and they can play the Mets in some double headers where they do have either 2 of those guys or all those guys, one of those guys. It'll make a difference. So I think the Yankees definitely benefited from this one. And I think they were a little bit thankful that this one got postponed.
Yeah, so first of all, they play the Mets next weekend anyway, so it's not like they have to wait too long and be too worried about when to make up these games. They can just do doubleheaders. I mean, I guess that is you don't want to do 6 games in one weekend. So maybe you do 2 doubleheaders and then schedule one later down the line. It's convenient that they're both in New York, of course. So that's not, you don't have to sacrifice a lot to get that done. I mean, if you're the Yankees, if you're going to have to miss one series, it's good to have it against the Mets. I mean, they did have one earlier against the Phillies as well because of the Marlins outbreak after they had played the Phillies. But yeah, as you mentioned, they're coming off a tough stretch. They got swept by the Rays. They overtook first place. The Rays had a walk-off win today to overtake first place again. Or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't walk-off. Yesterday was a walk-off. Today they just won. So the Rays are a game up in first place on the Yankees as of this point. This is a good time for the Yankees to sort of just take some time to heal, take a breather coming off of a bad set, and they can come back even stronger. And I mean, like I mentioned with Aaron Judge's MVP chances, that was something that sort of looked like it went from 100% possibility to 0%, whether he was going to be in the conversation or not when that injury happened. Now if he's missing less games, he has a much better chance of qualifying for stats, the rate stats. And yeah, he's back in the MVP conversation by default here.
Yeah. Aaron Judge, because he had it was described as a more minor injury. I guess he never quite know, and he was going to miss probably 9 or 10 games, and that's over 15% of your season. But now might not be missing as many, and yeah, he might be back in the conversation for MVP if he plays those doubleheaders.
Yeah, well, he's probably not going to play both ends of the doubleheaders. Like, you don't want to have someone come back from injury and then, all right, you're back 2 games in one day. Here we go. Even if it is 7 innings, you don't want that. That is a health risk. So he is probably going to have to sit one end of each doubleheader. It is what it is, but he definitely has a better chance of qualifying now.
Yeah, and, as much as, it might sound silly, but a lot of these injuries can happen. All these small injuries can happen because your body is tired. Just standing around for, and I know it's not the most, it's not the biggest contact sport. It's not the biggest sport where you're moving all the time, but standing in right field for 14 innings when you're 280 pounds can take a toll on you, and it can open up your body to more wear and tear. Those doubleheaders might be a bad idea, especially for the Yankees, where it's pretty much guaranteed that they're going to get in the playoffs anyway. And, home field advantage isn't as big this year because of no crowds.
No, that's tough for the Yankees too. Like, the Yankees are missing out on the home field advantage the most in the playoffs.
That's why I had them sort of underperforming this year when I talked predictions, because that crowd does play a factor, especially in the postseason.
I mean, I'm sure you've heard this stat going around, but I mean, they are 9-9 against teams that aren't the Red Sox.
Yeah, 9-9. A lot of that has to do with the pitching staff because.
Yeah, and James Paxton also went down. So did Gleyber Torres since the last time we talked.
Yeah, it's been rough for the Yankees. I mean, I don't know what is up with that training staff. I don't know if they hired the Mets old training staff,
or the Angels, one of those two. Yeah, I mean, the Yankees have this, they are a next man up kind of team. That was their whole mantra last season before the Savages thing happened. And Jeff Passan put out a tweet where he was like, the Yankees do have the amount of depth to be able to weather this, but it's not ideal when you're a World Series contender to have your top 3 hitters out of the lineup. Arguably your top 4 hitters, probably Gleyber. So, I mean, yeah, you probably have your top 4 hitters out of the lineup, you could argue, except for probably Luke Voit, who's hitting the cover off the ball. He is an 1,100-plus OPS this season. You also have Paxton. I know Paxton hasn't really been himself, but, that guy's going to give you innings, and you don't want to lose him. And I think a lot Yankee fans have been calling for Clark Schmidt. I have no idea what they're going to do. I mean, what do the Yankees do at the deadline? This sort of just popped into my mind just now. Like, what do they do? Because they have the bullpen, they have lineup depth. Where do they go for the starting pitching market? Like, who realistically is going to be out there?
Yeah, I mean, Stroman opted out. The Reds are probably going to be contending, so I don't know if Bauer is going to be on the market. I mean, Robbie Ray, they denied him last year, and he's been worse this year. Paxton is on their team already, so it's not like they can trade for him. He's an upcoming free agent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking, Matthew Boyd has struggled. You don't really want to trade for him right now. It's tough. It's tough.
I mean, I guess you could take a waiver on him.
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
Flyer. Like, why not trade our number 30 prospect for Matt Boyd just to see what's happening here? Maybe you could find something. But I mean, I don't think there's anyone on the market for the Yankees to be like, all right, we got this guy, now we go.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, they're really lucky they got Garrett Cole.
they're very lucky, and Paxton went down, and Severino is out for the entire year with his Tommy John surgery. But I think what the Yankees have to do at the deadline, if they can't get a starting pitcher, which they probably won't be able to get, a number 2, number 3 guy, they'll have to build an elite team around that starting pitching staff. They might have to go even deeper into the bullpen to where they only have to rely on a starter for maybe 4 innings, and then they could build, this 5-inning bullpen, especially for the postseason. Or you get even another bat like you did last year with Edwin Encarnacion.
Do you think they could get Lance Lynn back?
Lance Lynn, I mean, he's got he's got control through 2021. I think they'd have to unfurl a good package for them.
The Rangers probably aren't going to give him up easy.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, if you're the Yankees, you have to at least give it a shot.
We'll see. I mean, the trade deadline is literally a week away, like a week from tomorrow, as we're recording this. A week from today, as this is being uploaded.
Also, if the Indians want to get rid of,
that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. I mean, they could get Clevenger and Plesac.
Yeah, if the Indians really want to get rid of those guys, there's been rumors that they want to.
Would Clevenger cut his hair?
Those are the all right.
Would Clevenger,
that's not a great look.
He doesn't have a no trade clause, does he? Probably not.
No way. Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be a bad look, but
that might be the number one starting pitching option in the market if Cleveland wants to part with them.
Yeah, and Clevenger, if you get for essentially probably 3 years of control on Clevenger, I mean, you'd have to give up your top prospect. You'd have to give up, whatever, Garcia or that position player.
L'Oreal,
yeah.
Yeah.
L'Oreal. Yeah. But yeah, the Yankees are the options, I guess, are interesting, not too much on the starting pitching market, maybe some under the radar guys that you didn't think would be on the market are now on the market. And maybe they could build the bullpen a little more. But a team that has decided to build their bullpen, and they had to. I mean, they literally had to. The Philadelphia Phillies, they trade Nick Pivetta and Connor Seabold.
Yeah. Connor
Seabold for Red Sox closer Brandon Workman and Red Sox reliever Heath Hembree. It hasn't worked out so far in the game that we've seen.
So I have a buddy of mine who's a Phillies fan, and he was asking me what's the deal with Workman? And I was like, his issue is walking people, but when he's not doing that, he's unhittable. Like nobody hits this guy. He's given up 1 home run since the start of 2019. He had a batting average against last year of 123. Like, if this guy ever has a problem, it's with his command, but no one's ever going to get hits off him. The very first pitch he throws, Matt Adams hits a 2-run double to give the Phillies a lead. So that was unfortunate.
Yeah, the Brandon Workman thing is quite fascinating because he was kind of a middle of the road reliever, and then he decided, I'm going to be not a 3 true outcomes guy, but a 2 true outcomes guy. I'm going to make sure that no one gets a hit off me. I'm going to try to paint any corner. I'm not going to leave it over the plate. If I walk a guy, I walk a guy, but I can also strike out, 12 guys per 9.
Yep.
And it worked out for him last year. I mean, I think he had a 1.88 ERA. He was a top 10 reliever in baseball, arguably like top 5.
I think the Shredder had him at number 6 last winter.
Yeah, and it's understandable. But yeah, I mean, the Phillies should expect good things with Brandon Workman. I don't know if last year was a fluke year. You should expect somewhat of a setback, but not a guy who's going to go full Edwin Diaz.
Well, Edwin Diaz is he's been doing a lot better since the last couple outings.
But like a 1 year just.
I know. Blow up to a 5 ERA after having 50 saves. I get that.
Yeah. And then Heath Hembree. Heath Hembree is definitely one of those guys that's on or off.
Yeah. That's how it was always a good month, bad month type of thing for him. I guess it's easier for us to give the eye test sort of idea because we're both Red Sox fans. So we've watched these people, for years. These are 2 well-tenured Red Sox players. I remember Workman was on the 2013 team, and Hembree was traded over in the fire sale. It's fitting. Hembree was traded over here in a fire sale and is traded out during a fire sale. At least it's going to become one for the Red Sox.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, Heath Hembree, I remember last year and in May and June, he was our best reliever, the Red Sox best reliever. And then he got injured and then he was kind of back to his normal self. It was kind of weird. So you just with Heath Hembree, you got to get him while he's hot. You got to make sure he's hot for the postseason. And I think he had a good postseason in 2018. So
I think he didn't he only make one appearance and it was in the 18th inning game?
Heath Hembree, maybe in the World Series. Maybe that was his only appearance in the World
I don't
Series.
remember him pitching that much in those playoffs. Nick Pivetta. This is a guy who came into the league with some potential. I think he wasn't expected to be great, but everyone was looking at him being like, hey, the Phillies could have a good, 3-4 starter here. Maybe more. And it hasn't exactly worked out. His best season is 2018. He had 164 innings pitched, 4.77 ERA with a 3.79 FIP. So, it was encouraging to see, he was a bit unlucky. As for the Red Sox, I don't really know how much you can expect coming from him, especially in a season where you don't really have much expectations, especially going forward. You do have control through 2023, and he is 27 right now. He averages his strikeout numbers. He's been tough this year. He has a 15.88 ERA in 3 appearances, 5 2/3 innings pitched, 10 earned runs, 3 home runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, a 9.69 FIP. I think if you want to look at it from the glass half full side of things, he could just need a change of scenery. That could absolutely be a thing. I don't know. How much are you expecting from Nick Pivetta on a team that does not have starting pitching?
What I will say about Nick Pivetta and what I'll say about Chaim Bloom is Chaim Bloom likes to go to baseballsavant.com. I can tell. Mm-hmm. So Nick Pivetta is a guy who he's got pretty good fastball velocity. He's very good fastball spin rate. He's got good I think he's got good curveball spin rate. So Chaim Bloom has taken some trips to Baseball Savant. He got Martin Perez. Martin Perez was a guy who underperformed his expected statistics by a lot, 2 years in a row. And he's done pretty well this year. So I guess that's a win so far. He got Austin Bryce, who was in the 96th or 94th percentile in curve spin rate. And now he gets Nick Pivetta, who's got good spin rate. So I'm wondering, if Chaim Bloom's pitcher factory that he might have helped developed in Tampa Bay comes to play in Boston. And I think Nick Pivetta might be the first guy in this experiment. And I think there might be more upside than people realize, but spin rate doesn't mean exactly that you're going to give up less runs. You might still put it right over the middle of the plate. Command is key. And, if he gets command, if he goes through this kind of pitcher factory and he comes out well, I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, I'd be surprised if he was, a Cy Young candidate. But, I mean, I don't know if we'll see big results this year, but if he can get into that like system in spring training next year and turn around, maybe we'll see some different results from Nick Pivetta.
Yeah. All right. So lastly, Connor Seabold. Neither of us have ever watched this guy pitch like on TV or in person, so it's tough to really make judgments. But I'm just looking at his baseball reference page here. The thing that stands out to me the most, last year he pitched in the Arizona Fall League for Scottsdale. He made 4 starts, pitched 17 innings, gave up 7 hits, 3 runs, only 2 of them earned, 1 home run and 3 walks, and 22 strikeouts. So that is a 1.06 ERA, also 11.6 strikeouts per 9, 7.3 strikeouts per walk. So he pitched very effectively in a relatively small sample size in the Arizona Fall League last year, which is encouraging to see for sure. Of course, it's always a big question mark as to how that's going to translate in the big leagues. But, I mean, I don't think, as a Red Sox fan, I don't think we can look at this trade a couple of years down the road and be like, man, what are we doing? Why did we get this guy and that guy? Like, I don't think there's much of a disappointment to be had through this trade.
Yeah. I think Heim Bloom, I think he knows what he's doing with the young talent he gets. Like, even like the Mookie Betts trade, I've thought about this. Obviously I'd rather it not have ever happened, but
Can't blame Heim.
But if you like, Alex Verdugo looks very good, and if Jeter Downs comes up and becomes maybe even just like a top 10 second baseman in the league, and Alex Verdugo is an all-star, like, you're going to be glad that Heim Bloom got you those 2 guys. And I think he knew what he was doing by getting those 2 guys. And I think Heim Bloom's kind of been playing the long game ever since he took over. But yeah, I think I'm kind of optimistic with somewhat optimistic with what Heim Bloom has been getting.
Yeah.
So that leads us to some more on the field stuff. So the White Sox had an unbelievable streak entering today. Yu Darvish had something to say about that, but we're not gonna talk about too much about today, because the White Sox firmly put themselves as, a potentially top team in the American League Central. They're right in there with the Indians and the Twins right now. They won 7 games in a row, starting with the Cardinals. Then they swept the Detroit Tigers, and they've taken 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, and an unbelievable offensive display by the White Sox.
Yeah, I saw a stat on ESPN today that said that they hit, I believe it was 28 home runs over the past 7 games, which is a record for any 7-game stretch by a team in Major League history.
Yes, that is true. I saw that on Twitter. I think the MLB Twitter account tweeted that out. That's an MLB record. I mean, they were crushing the ball. They hit so many home runs off of John Lester. They could not stop hitting home runs off of John Lester. And Lester was a guy who came in with an ERA under 3 before that start on Friday. So during the streak, during that White Sox winning streak of 7 games, they slugged 702. 702 they slugged over a 7-game stretch as a team, 702. Their OPS was 1069. Their weighted runs created plus was 184. And all 3 of those led the league during the streak.
On Friday, they had 10 runs all coming off the long ball.
Yeah, they couldn't.
And that wasn't even the game where they had a guy hit 3 home runs.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Speaking of guys hitting 3 home runs, Jose Abreu has been unbelievable as well during the streak, and this isn't even including today. Today he hit a home run, but during the streak, Jose Abreu hit 533 with an 1896 OPS. Also, 7 home runs in 7 games, 15 RBI, a 400 weighted runs created plus, and he accumulated 1.2 wins above replacement in 7 games.
And he homered again today, too.
Yeah, he homered again today.
So those stats are going to be even better.
Yeah, they're probably or I don't know.
His weighted runs created plus might actually go down.
It might go down.
One home run in one game. It might be 395.
Yeah, Jose Abreu making White Sox fans happy that they re-signed him in the offseason. He's been quite unreal. And Tim Anderson also getting in on the party. He hit 419 with a 1326 OPS during the streak. And Eloy Jimenez, he hit 379 with an 1159 OPS during that 7-game win streak.
Yasmani Grandal hit a couple bombs during that series as well. I'm looking at his game logs to see what kind of stats went up because I know. Yeah, okay. Hang on a second.
Yeah, I was looking on Fangraphs, but I don't know if it's set under like qualified plate appearances. We might have had a couple days off.
Between August 17th and August 22nd, his OPS went from 664 to 755.
Yeah, almost 100 points.
Yep. So Yasmani Grandal, he had himself a weekend, and he was due.
Yeah, very due. I was surprised to hear that 650 number coming out.
Yeah, I think he only hit like his second home run on, I want to say, Friday.
So after the streak, where are we? How do we approach the Chicago White Sox? Are they right up there with the Indians and Twins at this point?
Well, the Twins and Indians play each other this week, so the White Sox need to take advantage and win their ball games because then they're going to be catching up to one of them or both if they like split the series or if it's 2-1 or whatever. I'm not sure how many games that series is, but yeah, I mean they are to be taken seriously. They are definitely playoff worthy. That lineup is extremely dangerous on all fronts. I mean, Danny Mendick, their 9-hitter, was going deep this weekend as well. So I mean, there are no free outs in this lineup. Everyone mashes. The pitching is a question mark by default. Giolito hasn't exactly been what we were hoping for the entirety of the year. His last start against Detroit was awesome, 13 Ks. So that was cool to see. Dylan Cease looks to have turned a corner and is becoming who we believed he is. By the way, people forget, Eloy and Dylan Cease could have been Cubs. Yeah. But they had to have Quintana instead.
It's wild.
That one time ever I've thought, wow, what is Theo doing?
Yeah.
Like even parting with Gleyber Torres, it's like, okay, you're getting an elite closer that's going to help you win a championship. But that trade, I was like, Jose Quintana becomes your like third starter. You just traded 2 like high tier prospects to get him.
Yeah, and they won the World Series the year before.
Exactly. Like, yeah, and they were still in a legit championship window. It's like Jose Quintana is not going to bring you over the top, and you don't need to get rid of Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease.
Yeah, the White Sox, they've been inflicting damage, and some of their best bats haven't even really woken up yet. I'm looking at
Moncada's been struggling recently. His OPS is in like the mid 700s.
Yeah, I'm looking at the team reference page, and this is coming into Sunday, but Encarnacion has a 599 OPS.
Yep.
He's an older guy, so maybe he does.
And he struggled late last year too.
Yeah, maybe he does actually drop off. Moncada, 781 OPS, and Grandal, before this week, his OPS was in the mid-6s. So, who knows the potential of this offense?
I'm so excited for this year's playoffs. Like, even though I know the Red Sox aren't going to be in it, there are so many exciting teams that are going to have an opportunity that they otherwise might not have had, and the White Sox are one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it is weird for me because I almost enjoy or look forward to the playoffs more when the Red Sox aren't in it.
No, I totally, because then I don't have to feel pressure of the pressure of watching it. Like watching your team in a playoff game is agonizing, even if whether they win or lose. Like, I remember 2018, like I wanted to die every single night watching those games. This year it's like, all right, I can relax, like watch some good playoff baseball, like enjoy the whole league a lot more. Like it is honestly refreshing when your team isn't in it. The only thing is like as a Red Sox fan, I naturally have to want the Yankees to lose. Like that is the one obligation. But like, I mean, I think we can acknowledge the Yankees are a likable team on the field. Like obviously, like if they win, I'm gonna be happy for Aaron Judge. I'm gonna be happy for Giancarlo Stanton. I'm gonna be happy for DJ LeMahieu, guys that didn't get that chance otherwise in their careers. Garrett Cole, like he was kind of robbed last year. Like obviously you don't want to see the pinstripes win, but I'd be happy for those players, honestly.
Yeah, and just like, yeah, this year watching neutrally, especially with 16 teams, it's just going to be just a lot of stress-free. I don't know if it would be better if the Red Sox were in a 16 team, if it's less stressful with them not being in a 16 team playoff or a 10 team playoff. I feel like it would be less stressful.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should consider keeping the expanded playoffs. Maybe not 16 teams, but maybe do it like the NFL does almost. Except the problem is you don't want to have the 1 and 2 seeds having a bye, like Trevor Bauer mentioned. But I think they should figure out a way to keep the playoffs expanded going forward.
Yeah, maybe we'll see when we get there. But yeah, when we talk about the expanded playoffs, and it's nice to have them this year, especially because you have the secondary teams. Those exciting secondary teams are probably going to get in, like the White Sox or the Padres. The Padres are looking incredibly good right now. We talked about how the White Sox ended their streak today. The Padres streak has kept going through today, even though they were facing Zach Greinke, who came into today with an ERA under 2, 1.84 ERA, and the Padres are looking like an elite team right now. Slam Diego.
They have hit 5 grand slams in the past week. Of course, Fernando Tatis, Will Myers, Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer, and Jake Cronenworth in that order all went deep. I mean, you all saw the stat that they were the first team in MLB history to have hit a grand slam in 4 straight games. That's what I love about baseball, by the way. Like, you can watch baseball your entire life and at the very end see something that you've never seen before. Like, if you're 70 years old still watching baseball, this week was the first time you've ever seen a team hit 4 grand slams in 4 games in a row.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem as out of the ordinary as you would think. Like 4 grand slams in 4 days in the entire 150-year history never happened until now.
Never happened. I mean, not even in like the 1800s when old Hoss Radbourn was racking up 60 win seasons. They weren't even doing it then.
Yeah. I mean, for granted, I guess they would all be inside the park, but it would be, I mean, who knows?
The grand slam in 4 straight games.
Even the 1884 Providence Grays were not capable of 4 grand slams in 4 days. I mean,
were they even capable of 4 home runs, period?
They probably had 3 and led the league. Yeah. But yeah, the Padres are looking incredibly good. I think that sweep over the Astros was definitely a statement, and the Astros, they weren't coming in cold. They were coming off a sweep of the Rockies, and the Padres the Padres took they saw that speeding train, they took it on, and they swept the Astros. It was pretty shocking, to be honest.
You got to hate seeing this if you're any other team in the division minus maybe the Dodgers, because the Padres are gonna be here for a while. Like they still have guys in the farm system that are developing. I mean, Mackenzie Gore is a top 5 prospect in the league. Luis Patino. They have plenty. Our guy Matt Barash is down there. They have plenty of guys that are still to come up, and they are, looking like an elite team right now, just with Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that's pretty carried by the offense currently, but once you get Gore and Patino in there in the next couple of years, you're going to also probably have an elite, at least 1, 2, 3 combination if those
Especially with Paddock.
hold up. Yeah.
I mean, and Dinelson Lamet has looked really good this year. He is a sub-2 ERA.
Yeah, I forgot about him too.
Zach Davies, that was a really nice trade. And even strangely enough, the best part of this team, the bullpen, hasn't exactly been exactly what we thought it would be. Like Kirby Yates went down with an injury. Emilio Pagan has struggled. Like this team could get better. Like this team should get better.
Pomeranz went down with an injury too.
Did he? Oh, he was doing well too. That sucks. So who do they got? Like Craig Stammen closing games for them now? Who's closing games for the Padres?
Pagan.
Who closed for them today? Pagan. Oh, he is still okay. What's his? Last I checked, his ERA was at like 8.
I should check. Maybe he didn't close today. Oh no, he closed today.
5-3 today, so they probably did have a closer come in of some sorts. Like Craig Stammen, Matt Strahm, somewhere around that. Cal Quantrill has looked really good. He got a big strikeout yesterday or today, this weekend at least. Oh, Friday he got a big strikeout to get out of a jam, I believe.
Yeah, the Padres, they're something special. I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, they're playing without their biggest strength. Kirby Yates, national or a guy who should have been nationally
award
for the year.
Yeah.
What?
Should have been the Trevor Hoffman Award winner.
Yeah, should have won NL reliever of the year, and you don't even have him, and you're still winning 7 games in a row.
By the way, the Padres completely broke the Rangers. They got swept this weekend in Seattle.
Yeah, because the Rangers was almost self-inflicted. I mean, they embarrassed themselves in front of the whole world.
Yeah, by being soft, and now look what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll just blow up and they'll have to trade Lance Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, I remember last week we were really going questioning if they were going to be buyers or sellers. Like when we did that segment, that was the biggest question mark there. I think it's pretty easy to look at them as sellers now. I mean, a 1 week really does determine everything. Like if they won every game this week, it's like, well, yeah, of course they're buying. If they lost, it's like, well, say goodbye to Lance Lynn. Maybe Mike Minor goes. Maybe Todd Frazier goes, even though he had a cold week. Like there's, 1 week in a 60-game season can really change everything.
Yeah, because they're probably not gonna get that second place spot, and in terms of the 7 and 8 seeds, that's probably gonna go to either Toronto, probably Toronto, Chicago, Twins or Indians, depending on how that shakes up in the AL Central.
Yeah,
I don't really see the Rangers as competitive right now.
Yeah, that's right.
It looks bad. I mean, a 4-game sweep is huge, huge in a 60-game season, and Rangers are feeling that right now.
It's a shame because the Rangers, on their home runs, they play the theme from The Natural, and it sounds so good. And it would be cool if like an entire audience saw that, especially because if it's happening in the playoffs, there's no fans to yell over the sound of that. So like we would have a perfect opportunity to hear that.
Yeah, it would be like an actual movie. It would be crazy.
That's how it was. Remember we did the 2010 Rangers show, and like you heard the national theme going, like it was the theme from when he hits the home run at Wrigley Field, and like it sounded perfect. Like we probably won't have that if this team isn't. I mean, they do it in the regular season, but it'd be a cool way to put it out to the public.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I imagine a game-tying home run by Joey Gallo.
So that hits like off the scoreboard 560 feet, just like the Natural.
And then it goes dun 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 dun. That getting chills just thinking about that. Yeah. That's a good sight. So we mentioned the San Diego Padres making history, 4 Grand Slams, in 4 days. No one has ever done that. Mike Trout has made history again. Not how he usually makes history, but his, I guess you could say, rookie card has sold for just under $4 million, breaking Honus Wagner's famous $3.2 million record. Of course, as we mentioned on episode 42, part 1 of the show to be named later. Mike Trout breaking that record.
Yeah. So how long? Do you remember how long that stood for? Like, I'm not talking about like the latest time that Honus Wagner broke the record, but like when was the last time Honus Wagner didn't hold the record for the most expensive card? Because like when we did the show, we would always talk about like he broke the record that he set and then broke it again and then broke it again, and it was just the top 3 best sellers were Honus Wagner, Honus Wagner, Honus Wagner. Now Mike Trout's up there. When was the last time it wasn't Honus Wagner?
I don't know. I don't know that.
It's probably been a while. We probably have not been alive for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, because the Wayne Gretzky card, the one that he got and then he got authenticated, that happened in, I think, 1991.
Oh, wow. It's been a long time.
I would imagine that, like, his card still, because of the rarity, I would imagine it still was the most expensive. It probably wasn't that specific card, but it was still the most expensive because of the story. Everyone knows the story by now, hopefully, that he didn't want to be associated with the tobacco company. So they only made between 50 and 200 cards. So there's probably only like 100 Honus Wagner cards out there, the T206 Honus Wagner card. And that's why it's so rare, and that's why it's so much money.
The $3 million.
But yeah, I don't know how long it stood for.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Trout, this is $3.84 million. That is more than a lot of MLB players, which is pretty awesome. I mean, I guess maybe not for just like putting in perspective, like a card is worth more than, like that card very well sold for more than some people might ever make, which is unfortunate, but like that is a fact.
Yeah, when you come into the league, with player control and pre-arbitration and arbitration, it's going to take you like 4 or 5 years to make what that card sold for.
Yeah. Like, go ahead.
Even if you're a good player, if you're a reliever, it might take you like the whole 6 years.
Like, we never really talked about this or thought it through, but like, if I really put some thought into it really would have seemed like Honus Wagner's record would have been unbreakable, like minus like inflation. But like, who would ever I never would have thought someone would have overpassed Honus Wagner's T206 card. And like, you think about all the great players that have come and gone since Honus Wagner, like we are literally going through pretty much all of baseball history there.
Yeah, you've got
Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, like Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Stan Musial. I mean, I could go on and on forever. Like virtually every great player in baseball history is after Honus Wagner.
Yeah, Mickey Mantle is like another like baseball card guy. Like if you have his baseball card, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to know the story of the card, but I don't think a lot of details have come out about the card. Being that we did an episode on Honus Wagner, it kind of intrigues us more than it would have had it happened like last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's intriguing for us definitely because we did the episode on it. But yeah, pretty wild story.
Yeah.
What I would say about that story is,
How about that?
and that's where we lead into one of our favorite segments. How about that? We're going to highlight some players and maybe a whole team that has been doing well, maybe even making history. Daniel, who is your how about that for this week?
Okay, so I did one how about that this week, or at least this by week, because we do it twice a week. But Dominic Smith from the New York Mets has done very well, especially considering him a while to a good hitter. He came up in 2017 I believe it was, with high expectations as a prospect. He was the number, I think, 2 prospect in their system when he came up or something like that. Like, it was basically him and Alonso. I'm trying to remember who were the big Mets prospects at that point. Oh, it was him and Ahmed Rosario. Yeah, like those are the big 2 at that point. Anyway, Dominic Smith, since the start of 2019, in 274 plate appearances, he is slashing 293, 369, 587, 955. His 152 weighted runs created plus in that time ranks between Fernando Tatis Jr. and Bo Bichette among hitters with at least 200 plate appearances. That is 8th in all of baseball. In 2020 now, he has 77 plate appearances, and the amount needed to qualify on the Mets right now is about 80. So give it like 2 or 3 more games. If he plays the full game, he's going to be qualifying. And he has a 754 slugging percentage this season with an 1156 OPS. And he ranks in the top 15 percentile in xWOBA, the 85th percentile, expected slugging, the 92nd percentile, and barrel percentage, the 94th percentile. And he has already surpassed his wins above replacement from last season in more than 70 less games. So Dominic Smith has been carrying it on this season.
Yeah, Dominic Smith. That's a good how about that there. He's definitely, when people talk about the Mets, although, especially this season, all they'll talk about is the negatives. But Dominic Smith has come under the radar, especially, a position player on the Mets. You don't see a lot of excellence there besides Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil and those guys.
He's struggling this year too. Like struggling by McNeil standards. Like he's only hitting like 260, 270 with a fairly low in OPS.
Yeah, Dominic Smith, pretty much being one of the anchors of that Mets offense, keeping them in the race. I mean, they started 3-7, but now they're only 2 games under 500.
They're like tied for the last playoff spot right now.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty much like 8th seed right now, or pretty close to it. So even without Cespedes and Syndergaard and Stroman, they could make a push. They could make a late season push like they did last year, except make the playoffs this time because of the expanded playoffs. My first how about that for this week, kind of a basic one, not too much on the guy, but I think he deserves some recognition. Cavan Biggio. Cavan Biggio has looked pretty good over the past couple weeks, very good over the past couple weeks, kind of anchoring that Blue Jays offense. Since August 7th, he is slashing 353, 515, 686 for a 1201 OPS since August 7th. Also, since August 7th, he leads the league in walks and is 4th in on-base percentage. And everyone above him, he has more plate appearances than. So he is 1st in on-base percentage, minimum 55 plate appearances since August 7th. And also since August 7th, he is 2nd in Major League Baseball in Fangraphs WAR.
How about that?
So Cavan Biggio has looked very good.
He's been sort of like the forgotten piece of that Blue Jays core. Like obviously everyone looks at Vlad Jr. obviously because he was the number 1 prospect in baseball and his dad is, a literal Hall of Famer. I guess same goes for Cavan Biggio, but I mean, Vlad Guerrero Jr. was a bigger name. Bo Bichette, he was also ranked higher and he also had that explosive start. But Cavan Biggio is kind of the forgotten piece, and I'm glad that he's getting his recognition.
Yeah, Cavan Biggio.
He hit the go-ahead double Friday against the Rays.
Yeah, I agree with you there. He's been kind of the forgotten piece in there. Like, Vladdy Jr. was the biggest guy coming up because of the way he hits the ball, how he hits the ball hard, deservedly so, getting that recognition. And then Bo Bichette was probably the best, even though it was a small sample size, he probably looked the best.
Hang on a second. Let me stop you real quick. ESPN just showed a starting pitchers like potential trade deadline people's segment. It was like Johnny Cueto was there, Martin Perez was there, Matt Harvey was there. There was 2 more, but I forget who they were. But that just says about everything you need to know.
Yeah, yeah.
About that earlier.
Maybe Matt Harvey can have a good start and then get traded.
Imagine if the Yankees trade for him.
Yeah, it's
Right back to New York. Here you go.
he's back in New York.
You didn't like the New York Mets media? Well, here you go. Here's the New York Yankees. Have fun.
Yeah, he's back home where he belongs.
Yep. Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, how about that starting pitching trade market, especially in 2020? There's not going to be a lot of sellers, I would imagine. But my second, how about that? We're gonna do a little guessing game. I'm gonna have you guess. So I'm gonna say there are 4 pitchers this year to pitch 5 games with 6+ innings pitched and less than 3 earned runs allowed. There's 4 pitchers to have 5 such games. Do you want to guess those 4 pitchers? Just throw out names. I'll tell you if they did or have or haven't done that.
All right, Shane Bieber.
Yep.
I don't think Bauer's pitched 4 games, has he?
Bauer's not on the list.
Bauer's not on the list. Man, 5 of such games. So these are got to be like top of the line starters, right? Like people that have pitched like opening day and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much top of the rotation guys.
Did Nelson Lamet?
Nope.
No.
Some of them are more obvious.
Can I have a hint on one of them? Any of them?
What?
Can I have a hint on some of them, maybe?
I mean, there's a guy who has an ERA under 1.5 right now.
I haven't checked the ERA leaderboards. Hang on a second. God. Is it cheating if I look at the ERA leaderboards?
No, not cheating.
No. Okay. Well, I mean, I got Shane Bieber. I think that was the obvious one.
Yep.
Max Fried?
Nope.
Oh, no, Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn has got to be one of them.
Lance Lynn is the second.
Yu Darvish?
Nope.
Randy Dobnak?
No.
All right, I give up. Give me him.
And then there's Sonny Gray, who's a guy who I didn't want to hide. And then the 4th one is Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen is the man.
One of my guys to watch for.
Zach Gallen is one of those 4 guys. He's my how about that of the week.
How about that?
Or how about that of the Monday episode, August 24th. He is one of 4 pitchers this year to have 5 games with 6+ innings and less than 3 earned runs allowed. You know, I didn't know he'd be such an innings eater this year, but he is. His 2.25 ERA also ranks 13th in baseball coming into Sunday, and his 10.5 strikeouts per 9 ranks 12th coming into Sunday. His hard hit percentage is in the 70th percentile, expected slugging in the 72nd, expected batting average in the 76th, and expected WOBA in the 78th percentile. So he's not getting lucky here. These are real results that he's producing. His B-WAR is tied for 5th in Major League Baseball. So he's been a top 5 pitcher in baseball according to Baseball Reference WAR, and a lot of that has to do with him eating the innings. He's got 36 innings pitched through his first 6 starts. I mean, getting 6+ innings per start is a pretty big deal nowadays, and Zach Gallen is doing just that. And also, the main stat, one of the main stats here, so all 6 of his starts have consisted of 6+ strikeouts and less than 3 earned runs allowed. The only other Diamondbacks pitcher to have 6 such games in the team's first 30 games is Randy Johnson in 2000.
Yep.
How about that?
In 2000?
2000, yeah. That was.
Yeah, I mean, there were like 5 of such seasons that were possible there, so.
Yeah.
It could have been 01, 02, 03, 04.
Yeah, could have been any of those, but yeah, Zach Gallen.
Could have been. I remember when I did my Lance Lynn stat, I was like, he's the first person over the age of 35 to do this since there have been 7 of such seasons. It was Lance Lynn, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Randy Johnson.
Yeah, Randy Johnson will do that. So those are my how about that's for the week. And now we go from the highs to the lows, and we're going to be doing some slightly alarming statistics highlighting some players or teams that need some big improvement from what they've done as of late. So who are you highlighting for your slightly alarming statistics?
My slightly alarming. This is not necessarily like a perennial superstar player, but he was a big prospect. I think that's my theme for this one is prospects that are sort of turning a corner, because Dominic Smith is obviously doing that. But this guy, he came up a few years ago as a big name prospect, top 5 in the league, and he is not doing what people have hoped, and that is J.P. Crawford. He had a really good start to the season, and he has kind of plummeted. You know, obviously the hot start to the season in July, I was highlighting that when it happened. But he entered the month of August with a 393 average and a 1086 OPS. He is now looking at a 222 average with a 583 OPS.
Yikes.
So I mean that tanked. Like his OPS is in half almost, and his average is down 170 points since then. He is 2 for his last 34. Chris, 2 for 34.
Slightly
And-
alarming.
And the last time he recorded an extra base hit as an everyday player, the leadoff guy, that was July 27th, almost a month ago. And in the month of August, he is 13 for 80. That is a 163 average, including today. He went 0 for 4. J.P. Crawford has been in a big slump recently. Somehow, by the way, in the middle of August, he somehow managed to have an 8-game hit streak, despite only having 13 hits in about 22 games or so. So, I mean, good for him there. But the grand scheme of things, he has an ISO of 0 in the month of August, which is very bad considering the month is about to end, and he is an everyday player. But J.P. Crawford is struggling mightily right now.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, J.P. Crawford, you know, he was a highly touted prospect. He was in the Gene Segura trade, and it just hasn't panned out for him thus far, unfortunately. My slightly alarming statistics are dedicated to an entire offense. This one, I think we mentioned them briefly in the show prior. I'm looking at the Colorado Rockies offense as a slightly alarming statistic. Since August 14th, and I believe they've lost something like 8 out of 9, 9 out of 10, something like that. They fell off hard, and we were pumping their tires at the beginning of the season, but they have fell off hard. Since August 14th, their 605 OPS ranks last in the MLB, and they've also posted a 48 weighted runs created plus in this 9-10 game span. That also ranks last in Major League Baseball, and their position player wins above replacement also ranks last. Specific players are also struggling. Charlie Blackmon, he's dropped off since August 14th. He has a 640 OPS, but it's not as bad as Nolan Arenado and Daniel Murphy. Nolan Arenado, since August 14th, has a 337 OPS, and Daniel Murphy has a 295 OPS.
Slightly alarming.
During this stretch, they were looking like kind of a favorite to take that second place spot in the National League West, and now they've fell off dramatically.
You know, when they were playing really well, and we were sort of pumping the brakes, saying like you know, can they sustain this? I think what we were anticipating was the inevitable pitching blow up, and that is not what's really happened. The pitching has been fine. Like Kyle Freeland pitched decently today. The bullpen sort of imploded, but Kyle Freeland was fine. Or no, Freeland pitched last night. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Freeland pitched pretty well last night. Senzatella pitched today. He was okay. And the pitching hasn't really been that big of a problem. The offense has been not carrying it, though.
Yeah, and you know, I guess the same way you expect the pitching to kind of blow up when they're at home, you can sort of expect somewhat of that same decline when the offense is on the road, and they've been on the road a lot recently, and I think that's part of the reason why they've struggled. So yeah, it's been rough for the Rockies. Maybe they can bounce back. As we've talked about, the pitching has not been the problem. And, you expect Daniel Murphy, Nolan Arenado, Charlie Blackmon to clean it up. Trevor Story's still been doing pretty well.
Yep.
You expect them to bounce back. So I guess there is some optimism there. But right now, not looking very good. Now we are going to preview the week ahead, see what matchups we would like to see. It's not super exciting in the upcoming week. There's one particular series I'm looking at. What are you? Yeah, what series are you looking at? I'm pretty sure it's kind of mutual.
I don't think it is, because my series is between two perennial under 500 teams. One of these teams just got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates, so that's real good. But I'm looking at the Reds and Brewers this week. It's a 4-game set, and these are both teams that need a momentum boost, especially with the expanded playoff. And I think that if the series is lopsided, whoever wins is going to go on a run. Like, this series just screams momentum builder for me. And as far as the matchups go, I mean, this is always going to be a thing with their pitching staff, but the Reds definitely have the edge. Tomorrow night, you get Trevor Bauer versus Brett Anderson. Chase Anderson's gone. You get Bauer versus Brett Anderson, two personalities, and you always want to watch Bauer because, there's going to be some behind the scenes you're going to be seeing later. He is an 0.68 ERA, by the way. Pretty good. On Tuesday, you get Luis Castillo, who, by the way, has a 4.44 ERA with a 2.05 FIP. So he's been pretty unlucky. Against Brandon Woodruff, who has a 3.23 ERA. So that's a pretty good matchup on paper. On Wednesday, you get Sonny Gray versus Adrian Hauser. Hauser has a 3.72 ERA. Sonny Gray, obviously, as you mentioned, is part of that list of people with 5 outings of 6+ innings and 3 or less earned runs.
Sonny Gray, yeah.
Yeah. So you get that matchup. And then on Thursday, the Reds have not announced their starter, but the Brewers are going with Josh Lindblom. I believe if the pattern continues, they'll go with Anthony Descalfani. But that is the Brewers-Red series that I'm looking at this week.
Yeah, that is a good point. This is kind of a battle for possibly a 7th or 8th spot in the division. I mean, either one could overtake the Cardinals as the second place spot, because we don't really know what direction the Cardinals are going to take because they haven't played that many games. But yeah, they're two teams that have been underperforming, but the Reds are definitely probably on paper more talented than the Brewers, but the Brewers, they're managed well. I was kind of more optimistic on them heading into the season, and I think they've got a camaraderie that could help, kind of spark a good run. But the Reds, pitching wise, they're looking better for in terms of matchups this series. The series that I'm looking at, pretty obvious, Indians, Twins.
Yeah, I figured you were going to go there, so I took another route.
Yeah,
but I do think that Reds Brewers series is interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. It didn't pop out to me as much, but you explaining that makes me want to tune in there. Twins, Indians. Tomorrow you got Aaron Savale, who's been extremely good as a number 2 for the Indians behind Shane Bieber, now that Clevenger's not in that rotation right now, versus Kenta Maeda, coming off a performance where he had 12 strikeouts and was 3 outs away from a no-hitter. So that's what you have on Monday. Then on Tuesday, Shane Bieber on the mound. You have to watch that, obviously. Last time he faced the Twins, that was 8 innings pitched, 13 strikeouts, 3 hits, no walks. I believe that was his second start of the season.
And they're facing Dick Mountain on Tuesday.
What?
They're facing Dick Mountain on Tuesday.
Rich Hill?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I see what you did there. So you got him. You got Bieber versus Hill. Bieber's looking elite right now, but hey, the Twins offense is also pretty elite. And then on Wednesday, you have Adam Plutko versus Jose Barrios. two guys that have been kind of underperforming, but Barrios had a very good last start, and maybe the Twins can edge them out.
Kind of
there.
wish the series was another game so we could see Tristan McKenzie against the Twins.
Yeah, that would be intriguing. But yeah, Tristan McKenzie, that was his major league debut, right?
Did you see the stat that I tweeted?
No, I did not.
Okay, I will pull it up right now.
Yes.
Jeff Mathis hit a home run today, by the way. So that was cool.
Is he still on the Rangers?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was watching it live. I was like, wait a second, who hit that? And it said Jeff Mathis. I was like, oh my god, that just happened. Okay. Anyway, Tristan McKenzie is the 6th pitcher in Major League history to pitch at least 6 innings, allow 2 or less hits, and strike out 10 or more in his Major League debut. He was the first person to do it since Johnny Cueto on April 3rd, 2008.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty unreal. I'm looking for the
How about that?
for the tweet.
Okay. It was a reply because I tagged him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you might not see it just by looking at the standard Twitter page. But yeah, Tristan McKenzie looked really good. It was against the Tigers, so I mean, you could take it with a grain of salt if you want to. He did allow a home run to Willie Castro, though. So, yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, I'm excited to see if he can sustain that because the Indians, they really are a pitching factory. Like, they just – every time a pitcher comes up, it's like, oh, this guy has a sub-3 ERA. What? Like Aaron Savale, just out of nowhere, 2.91 ERA following up the really good year he had last year. Tristan McKenzie, obviously he was a highly touted prospect, 24 overall coming up. But, I mean, 10 strikeouts in your Major League debut, I'd say it's pretty good.
Yeah.
To replace, I guess Savale was in the rotation anyway, but to replace Plesac and Clevenger and even Kluber, who was got traded.
Yeah. I hate to talk about Trevor Bauer and momentum again, but there was a Bauer Bites with Mike Clevenger, and Clevenger was talking about how his experience coming up in 2016. It was like it didn't help that like he was a pretty good prospect, and he was like it didn't help that like if I had one bad start, it was gonna kick me out of the rotation or the pitching staff. Like he didn't have any time to get his feet under him, and like yeah, they've had like one of the best rotations. It seems like forever now.
It's like 2015. It's like, oh, you got Kluber coming off a Cy Young. You got Danny Salazar. You got Carlos Carrasco. Like, this team is so good. And now it's like you got Shane. You get completely different almost. Shane Bieber. Still have Carrasco. You have Clevenger. You have Savale. You have Plesac. You have McKenzie. You have all these guys that can just – and they could have kept Bauer too.
Yeah.
Imagine if they kept Bauer.
Last year, they like in the past 12 months, I guess, or in like a 4-month span, they traded the guy who finished 3rd in the Cy Young in 2018 and the guy who finished probably like 6th in the Cy Young in 2018. I think Bauer was like 6th or 7th, and
they still have one of the best
they're
rotations.
like still like a top 3 rotation in baseball.
Yeah, it's so insane. But I mean, to be fair about that trade, there's a fly. Franmil Reyes is like their best hitter this year by OPS.
Yeah, I remember on that when that trade happened, I thought the Indians won that trade. Like they got.
I don't remember what I thought. I just remember right after it happened, the Amir Garrett ball broke out. I was like, oh my god, the Reds they just traded for Trevor Bauer and they've gone wild.
Yeah, because I was thinking about like, yeah, they got Puig out of it, who was okay for them. I thought he would do a little bit better. And they got Reyes, and they also got Logan Allen.
Yeah, they still got pitchers coming up. Like they're not done yet.
Yeah, like a top 100 prospect.
It's kind of weird because they don't have that great of a bullpen either. Like Brad Hand is decent, but like Nick Wittengren is okay, I guess. Like their bullpen is not as deep. I mean, James Karinchak, that dude is awesome.
Yeah,
he leads all relievers in WAR.
Yeah, he's wild. So his
17 strikeouts per 9, 0.61 ERA. James Karinchak. I guess, all right, the Indians' bullpen is pretty deep. Deeper than I thought it would be at the beginning of the season, mostly because James Karinchak.
Yeah, if only they could go out in free agency and, like, get up.
If only they could spend money.
Like, yeah, they would be a dynasty. if they could do that. But I guess, I mean, it is weird how baseball just balances out like that. Like in
That and Emmanuel Clase could end up being really good too. The guy who they traded Kluber for, who got suspended for PEDs.
Yeah, that's true. But like, it's funny how, a team on an $80 million payroll and a team on a $200 million payroll can just be at the same level. And like, how it just balances out like that sometimes.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Like I can't imagine if someone bought the Indians and was like, hey, we can like add $100 million to our payroll right now.
That would be sick. It's like, hey, we could get Bauer back. I guess they wouldn't want Bauer back in free agency because they have enough pitching depth in that rotation. I mean, what hitters are on the market? Like, what if JD Martinez opts out? It's like, hey, let me grab this DH real quick, add that to our lineup.
Just throw money at him.
Just throwing that out. Did Marcelo Zuna sign a 1-year deal with the Braves, or is he under more control?
Yeah, he signed a 1-year deal. I mean, Castellanos could opt out after this year.
Castellanos could opt out. I doubt he would, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess with COVID, it's hard to get money on the free agent market. But
How did Marcelo Zuna only get a 1-year deal?
I think he tried to get himself like a one of those Dexter Fowler contracts. You know how Dexter Fowler, like he wasn't that great, and he got one.
That's funny. That's the one time. That's like the one time the Cardinals have ever opened up the checkbooks, and it's Dexter Fowler.
Yeah, he got like a 1-year deal with the Cubs when he was like 28, 29. Had a good year, and then he got the bag in St. Louis.
It's funny because we still talk about like how much he enjoyed his Cubs days, which like I don't blame him. Like you won a World Series and you were beloved there, but it's like, dude, you're on the Cardinals. Like you can't just be like, man, I miss the Cubs, man. That was such a fun time, man. You can't be doing that.
You got to save those quotes for after you're done with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
funny.
You can't do that.
Entering today, Marcelo Zuna's OPS is exactly identical to his 2017 924 OPS.
Oh, that's good. That's good to see for both the Braves and him for like in the off season.
Yeah, I remember he had a couple of down years with St. Louis. 2017 or 2018, his OPS went down to 758. That's tough.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
And then 800 last year, and now it's 924.
Yeah,
I hope that continues. I like Marcelo Zuna.
Yeah, and he's fun to watch. So that leads to the conclusion of the episode. Hope you enjoyed this. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and you want to watch us talk, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is called STBNL with Chris Gianta and Daniel Curran. If you want to follow me on Twitter, follow at Chris_Gianta. If you want to follow Daniel on Twitter and Instagram, both the accounts are at Daniel_Curran. And if you want to follow the podcast Instagram, follow at STBNL Podcast for all news on our show. We'll tell you when we upload, give you 1-minute highlights, all that stuff. And we hope you enjoyed our weekend recap, August 24th episode, and we hope to see you in the middle of the week on Thursday, where we recap the past 3 days in baseball. See you on Thursday.